let me just introduce Aaron. And so this is going to be not extensive. Ruth has mentioned Aaron is a Ashoka Fellow, been in the network for quite some time now. He has had a very successful career in the fields of publishing, and I love your story now that got started, Aaron. Systems integration, software development, computing and ICT. And he's currently implementing and facilitating maintenance of carbon credits, agroforestry. So nowadays, I think when I make attempts at talking about carbon credit and what that means, for climate change or even just the technicalities around it, I probably borrow like everything word by word from what I've had Aaron share. So is on agroforestry, afforestation, and other carbon-related offset programs in Kenya, Uganda, Burundi, and Cameroon. He has also been a partner. He partnered up with the Long Miles Project, USA, to implement a coffee quality improvement program, looking at specifically helping farmers understand capping protocols and about coffee farming practices to result in realizing high coffee sources. So I want to stop there because there's just a lot that we can say about Haron, including his previous roles, coordinating an academic UNDP-funded project on causes of unemployment among rural youth in Kenya, covering about 20 constituencies, and many more work. He's the founder of Kili Group, a value chain developing business, amongst so many other things. Also, just back to the publishing, a prolific writer. Aaron, we really honored to have you, and absolutely proud to have you as part of the Ashoka Fellowship Network. And it's an exciting moment to get to hear from you. What's your take about new leadership? Thinking about your own lived experience as a leading social entrepreneur, steering all these different works that you've done towards impact, and how you've also worked with teams, developed teams, and managed them. To also find their identity, and of course, as change makers, and also the rest of the people that you're working with outside your core team. So, Haron Wachira, take it from here.
Thank you, Vincent. And I can see, Ruth, you are sharing the screen for me. Thank you very much. So we will just go through that together, and I'll be telling you when to change the screen to the next one. I'm happy to be here. This is my third career. And in 2010, when Ashoka told me, or rather indicated that one of the qualifications for sustaining my Ashoka fellowship was to go full-time in agriculture, I actually never believed that I could take that courage. I was encouraged that I would get a stipend for 3 years, and then by that time I would have figured out how to make my idea work. At that time, I had a reasonably successful career at that particular moment in systems integration. I was linked up with PricewaterhouseCoopers, who are big in the market. Through them, I could get contracts very easily, and I was also doing some work for them and for their clients. And so my involvement in the rural areas was more like a personal CSR, mostly through our church. But the success of that work, we had worked with a number of farmers for some time, and I saw some very interesting trends that most of what they did was not profitable, that if we implemented protocols for agricultural farming, we would bring about change. We had found out that almost everyone required not only a mentor, but a mechanism for hand-holding and accountability sustained over a long period of time. When I stepped out of that program for a while, the majority of the 150 families that had gotten me recognized by Ashoka, most of them went back to poverty. And that was very distressing to me. And the question is, what do we need to do to be able to keep those people over there? So anyhow, I accepted the challenge. That was in 2010. And so in our journey, 12 years from now, we are I would say, reasonably successful. We are a group of companies, and the reason why we are a group is because each of our entities is dealing with a specific aspect of our business. We wanted to keep them separate. Like Akili Foods does processing of adding value to the raw materials we get in communities. Akili Technologies deals with technologies. We have a circle, connectivity. We even have an NGO as part of our organization, but we've never gotten any significant funding as from donor agencies. So it lies there. I think right now we are funding the NGO ourselves, and it will get involved in development. So that's the group. We operate as one group, many names, but in the office, if you come to visit our offices, you will be interacting with people. They may have different contracts from different entities, but they will all be working as one team. So we work together as a team. We maintain different legal statuses. Let's move on to the next one, Ruth. The thing I would like to just do is to tell you a little bit about our vision and our mission, and around it also talk about the transformation that the new leadership is calling for, and what I have discovered personally in my interaction. Right now, Akili is employing the largest number of people that I have ever hired in terms of as an organization. We are also affecting more communities and more people than I have ever interacted with in my previous careers. My previous careers were high earning, but not really involving a lot of people. So this is a very interesting time for us. We also are employing a lot of young people, a lot of women. And so the issues that you are covering technically from a point of view of new leadership, we are experiencing them. So I'll just tell you our story, and around it you can pick up those issues as we go along. The first statement is an aspiration statement. We aspire to be a transformation agent and partner for holistic livelihoods. So I will explain later how we deal with that. We also seek to create holistic value because in many cases, the value that may be in the communities may be underlying, like carbon credits. Communities will not know how to be able to create value out of carbon offsetting activities, even though they are planting trees. So we do seek to create and then add holistic value. Holistic because we are not looking at only one aspect of life. And then we develop very specific goals that are designed to bring about transformation. And in terms of talent, we leverage everything. People, research activities. We have some universities and working with us. The technology platforms are our own, and practical technologies like what works in the farm, and partnerships. And our goal here is to remain relevant and to be efficient in the way we work. Then we generate funds. At the moment, I would say we have managed to create a sustainable source of funding in scale from carbon credits. That means we have to do the offsetting activities in the communities in order for us to convert that into credits that become now the basis for funding what we really want to do, which is transforming those communities. And then as part of our values, we share all the gains, all the value that we create or generate or find in communities. We share it with all our parties, our investors, our communities, and ourselves. And that will become apparent as we do. As I think you will find out, most of this vision and mission, many aspects of it has been realized. So we are talking about a period in our business when our work is at scale and we are just seeking to replicate ourselves in many different places. Thank you. Next one. When it comes to, these are just different pictures that can give you an idea about where we work in the rural areas for holistic work, partnerships, all the things I've said that benefit both the planet and also generate a profit. I think we can move on. That's just repeating what I had been saying. This is what I would like to spend a little bit time on, why and how carbon credit works. both in this case as a climate mitigation tool, but also as a mechanism for funding rural development. So this is a complete cycle of a picture that shows that we get our work. Our work starts with creating offsets. And those offsets can be, at the moment, water filters, biochar production, that is charcoal from like invasive of or waste materials. We make efficient stoves. We grow trees. The pictures you are seeing there are all very significant for us. We are right now in the process of the research phase for our plastic recycling activities in the rural areas. So we don't have an active project on plastic recycling. It should be coming soon. We also are in the final stages of finalizing our biochar research as a methodology for carbon credit. It was approved last year. We have been doing some research on that I'll talk about. We now have the quantifications that we can use to roll out a program. We also have got the partnerships and the investment that will enable us to do our first projects. On cook stoves, that stove, the picture you are looking at there is of a cook stove that has been designed with a lot of consultation with Kenyatta University to achieve all the efficiencies that are required to get maximum optimal carbon credit. So that stove has got what is called a thermal efficiency of 30%. It saves 66% savings on wood used compared to the traditional 3-stone, and it is wide at the top. The stoves I've distributed in the past, feedback from the women is that they would like something that can take a big pot. And this one, we've managed to achieve that. So I think I can already make a few statements over here that in the new leadership, you have to be participative. You have to actually check with people. Women have contributed. This stove is also light. It's been made to, the first stoves I distributed, that our model, were 25 kilograms heavy. This particular stove is less than 10 kilograms. And yet it's bigger than the stoves that I was doing. We are utilizing local materials like diatomite to reduce the weight, to increase thermal efficiency, but that feedback is coming from the communities. There's also a huge amount of research involved here that involves both very educated people and people on the ground. We have tests on fields right now. Actually, as we're speaking, we have about 200 households that are testing this particular stove and giving very direct feedback for the next 3 weeks before we start mass distribution of that particular stove in the areas that have been targeted. Now, we also grow a lot of trees. The tree that you are looking at there is called a camphor tree. It's my favorite tree in many ways. In another session, I can talk to you about that. Or if you look through my podcast, you may find a podcast I have done on the camphor tree. But it's a tree that has been decimated from Mount Kenya forest. We are restoring it both in the farms, and we hope to be in the forest pretty soon. But these activities, all of them generate offsets because they are saving the environment one way or another. And then those offsets go through a program of conversion through external verification by third parties and carbon credits. You can see an image of an investor here who provides the initial investment. We work with money availed in advance by an investor instead of trying to borrow from a bank. Banks cannot wait for you to roll out a program and then recover your money and pay off a loan. And they also change interest rates without notice, as some of you know. But with the investor funding, we generate the carbon credits, which then are sold either to buyers that are linked to the investor or buyers in the open market. But we ourselves are operating in the voluntary market. There is the regulatory market, which pays less, but you can sell your carbon credits in the auction. In our case, we actually pre-sell. Like just at this particular moment, I think a lot of our credits are being sold as we speak to companies like that deal with gaming. I think Subway Surf, some of you have got children who play that game, is a game of a kid who is running along the railway lines and avoiding to be hit. These guys do this in order for them to do carbon, to minimize their carbon footprint, and they're buying a lot of our credits at the moment. In the past, we have sold credits to even the Paris Marathon and other players who play in the voluntary market. This money, through a pre-negotiated agreement, becomes available to ourselves, to the investor, and a portion of it to the community where it came from, because the carbon credits from a community. But instead of paying individuals for carbon credit, we fund activities in the community, healthcare, scholarships, agronomy training. We provide that from day one of our programs, infrastructure, savings and loans for people to buy the things they need to be able to live a better life and to improve their farms, all those sort of things. So you can see that through this cycle, the value that we generate from the community through carbon offsets becomes the income source that makes it possible for that community to truly begin to finance the things that make them aspire to live a much better life. Somebody asked me, aren't you trying to do the work of government? And the answer is that I don't have an answer to that question, because if the government were doing these activities, if there was no kid in a community going to failing to go to school because of school fees, we would not fund. If there was agronomy being provided, agronomy training, we would not do it. If a school would have computers and would have a library, we would not bother to install them. If everybody wanted money, could get it from a bank, we wouldn't. So effectively, we're just meeting gaps. And if the government wants or is available to work with us, we are available. If other partners want to work with us, we are available. We are not an NGO. We are just basically a partner in that community to work with them to address the issues that affect them and at various levels. Let's move on to the next slide. The projects, maybe this will be a good way of explaining some of how we work, because these are actual projects on the ground. The Hongera Cook Stoves project is a distribution of 150,000 energy efficient cook stoves in specific counties in Kenya, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Laikipia. In the same areas, we are doing an afforestation program where we are planting 3 million trees, various species, in the same areas, Laikipia, Nyandarua, and Nyeri, to the same households and possibly others. And then we have been on a separate project, conducting research with EcoAct, is a major player in the carbon value chain in Europe. And we have been testing 5 types of biomass materials in Kenya, including the mathenge, lantana camara, and others, including banana waste from the market and rice husks, to make biochar and quantify the amount of carbon that would return to the soil if it was returned. We've through with that phase. At the moment, we are doing agricultural trials, and then after that, we will roll out programs in large scale. So those are 3 of our projects that can tell you. And you can tell that to do biochar, to grow trees, to do the cook stoves, we are representing many different people, all the way from the community level, including locally based ambassadors that were like people who attend women groups or who manage a CFA, a community forest association. They need to grow seedlings, all that sort of things. We engage them. So this participatory method is demonstrated through the work that we are doing in large scale in those places. Next slide for more of our projects. We have some of the ones that are very interested in upcoming projects. We have a project in large scale coming up in Masai Land, in an area called Kajiado County. And we are partnering with a conservation group there called Sand River Conservancy to target 75,000 families who occupy a combined total of about 1 million hectares to conserve, restore, and grow the livelihoods. So the way that project is expected to work is, for example, we will be introducing some high-yielding grasses which can generate enough grass during the rainy season for our participants to, in their groups, to bale the hay and keep it. And that means that the families would not need to have their cows taken for grazing. I think you have seen those cows sometimes are brought all the way to Nairobi in the city center. So in our case, we would keep those cows in the area that we have designated for the project, because by the time when drought comes, we will have already facilitated the growth of adequate hay that can keep the cows in that area. There would be water, drinking points would have been established, so the water would also be available. The communities would have grown crops in another designated area with technology and technical support from our agronomists to be able to make sure that there is enough food. And most of the area would be left undeveloped because the animals, also wild animals, pass through that area. So that's, for me, this is one of my most exciting projects, because by demonstrating that it is possible to eradicate poverty in an area that is classified as semi-arid, we think we can influence government policy to show how it is possible for people to live well in an environment like this, and partner with including people like researchers. We will have people researching on how grass grows, what type of best grass you can deal with. We will have people taking pictures, GPS coordinates. We'll have people choosing the areas to grow trees on riverbeds. We will have people doing the quantification of all of that work. So both very educated people will be in there, living in the area. I liked the comment of our landscape management officer, a lady, a young woman who has a master's degree in agriculture and range management, says, I think I should move in there and live among the Maasai with my family. And that's the kind of thing that we want to see. Then we have another project coming up. This one is an intention as of now. We have signed an MOU. We have not signed up an agreement. The Sand River one is already at agreement stage. We've already signed an agreement and we have started doing the initial work. But this grouped project in Zambia is in partnership with an organization called the World Economic Congress, which is a Christian organization that supports programs of development in developing countries, and then AAH, who we are partners elsewhere with them, and ourselves, to dig about 2,000 boreholes and grow more than 10 million trees, and involve the communities in agricultural activities that are specifically advanced to operate at a greenhouse level, so that we are getting young people to participate in agriculture. These images that I have pasted there, I have to say, are not from the project. I've just put there for illustration, but in another maybe 3 years, these are the kind of realities you'll be seeing in that project. It's already, in principle, we have all the partners, including the investor, and we are going through the preliminaries before we register this project to get started. Please, next one. Another project. This one, again, this is also a very exciting project for me, because it spans a very large area of Kenya, all the way from Tana to Lower Aberdares, that is like in Mai Mahiu, those areas, to all the way to the Lower Mau. In total, targeting about 150,000 households, planting 5 million trees, and working with biochar from the Mathenge. This tree is greatly negatively decorated in Kenya, because the pastoralists complain that it destroys their livestock because it has thorns. But it produces very good biochar. And we have tested this biochar. We'll be able to produce it in scale. You can use it to plant trees. You can use that biochar to work in the farms for the neighboring areas where people can do agriculture. We will have mangrove restoration at the coast. We will have water filters installed in every family that will be involved, and a cook stove that will save energy. And so this is a very interesting project because, again, it's targeting what you can call the poorest among the poor in our country, but generating a lot of credits. If you wanted to do a quick computation at your level of how much a tree produces, a tree produces 0.05 on average credits per year. A carbon credit in the open market, in the voluntary market right now for trees goes somewhere in the region about 15 euro. A carbon credit from biochar will fetch as much as 50 euro. And a carbon credit from a water filter will be equivalent to that of a cook stove. A cook stove like this one will generate like 2.8 carbon credits per year, which means that it pays for itself in the first 1.5 to 2 years, but then you recover the rest of the implementation money as you go along. So this is an interesting project because it covers almost every aspect of our business. We just agreed in principle on this project yesterday with our partners in this project. Is a company called Eco Securities. They're in Geneva, and they're willing to get moving on this project. So we'll be signing up a final agreement in the next few weeks and getting started this year on this particular project. Another page, please. These ones are interesting projects that largely are Akili driven in terms of even funding, but with some partnerships that are interesting. The Akili Tunza Cook Stove project is in Kirinyaga. It's just been signed up with EcoAct providing the technical capacity and us doing the production and distribution of the cook stove. And in addition, planting 1 million trees in just that one county. That's where I live. And that project has been hived off from a project that we had targeted in that whole area, but it did not go through. So this is a specific small project for one county. Then we have a new partner. They are called Core Keys. And through them, we actually have access to a fund that can buy as many beehives as we would like to distribute. And we are starting with 500 beehives to be loaned through Akili Development Circle to all our partners wherever we are planting trees. And if we finish those, we can roll out another one. At the moment, the fund does not have a limit as to how many. But around those farmers, we provide agronomy, we train them on beekeeping practices, we link them to market for honey and other products. We begin to add value to honey and all of that. So very many different types of jobs. And then I think some of you may already know we work with moringa. It was one of the things that I really started working with and which I consume and we sell. We add value to moringa. We sell it in dry powder. We also sell it in capsules. But the moringa leaves are grown in the communities where we work. And we also work with Prunus africana plant to make a tea and capsules and the bark that helps men with their prostate health issues. Then we also do coffee. We add value and we link farmers to markets. Again, all the farmers that may also be growing trees. So I think there are other projects that we are involved in, but I think that I selected some of those as an illustration of the kind of work that we do. Next. So here's what I would like to also now address some principles around the new leadership. The first principle is that a team in 21st century world needs to be diverse. Like you can see, our own team represents people who do agronomy, programmers, project managers, food processors, range management specialists, including researchers. That's one, diversity, both in terms of gender and age, but also diversity in terms of skill sets. And all these people working together. I would like to mention something that we have discovered, because a lot of the knowledge regarding the kind of work we are doing has been sort of like based in the West, like carbon credits, etc. Our team includes people with those specific skills, either as partners mentoring local people, or we actually employ some specific people. There's a lady working for us from Canada. She's a carbon specialist, and she is linked to a team in our organization. We meet on a weekly basis online, and she's doing some specific quantification work for us on the carbon market, but at the same time, she's doing it alongside our other people so that they can gain experience. So mentorship is also very important. Research is very important. We have all of these people represented in the work that we are doing at various levels. Recently, one of our technology providers was guided by one of our partners to check back on the farms that we are working with, and went back once in Google Earth and discovered that a significant percentage of the farmers we've already enlisted will not qualify for generation of carbon credits because they cut down their trees just in the last 10 years. Google Earth is there. Very often we don't go back there. With some simple research, we were able to establish this. And now we are busy changing our eligibility criteria for our people. We have to confirm how far back you cut down your trees before you joined our project. I would like to tell you three very interesting stories around this team and our engagement in the communities. And I will only here tell you one, and then we'll go to the next slide and I'll tell you another story. And at the moment, I would like to tell you about this girl who is the head of our range management activities. Her name is Martha. And Martha has a degree in range management, but she came to Akili specifically to get attachment, practical training in agriculture, because she is pursuing a postgraduate degree in agriculture. But when she came over there, her value was immediately seen on day one because she was able to isolate from our existing tree nursery where she was based the kind of problems that was causing a very high attrition rate of the macadamia plant in that particular nursery. So a manager got to notice her, began to involve her with technical discussions on improvement of the propagation of macadamia. Before you knew it, and we are talking about less than 4 months now, that Martha has grown in our organization from being just a person on attachment to becoming an employee, to becoming a leader, team leader in range management for a very large project, the one that we are doing in Kajiado. So that's the other thing that I would like to mention, that in the new leadership, careers do not have to take years to develop. Somebody can get transformed within a very, very short time. Let's move on to the next one, and then I'll tell you another story of another girl out there. This girl that is out there is called Mary, the one who is speaking, the one who has her hands outstretched in that group. But because we enter communities through groups, we have to get this group of people to understand what we do. So we train ambassadors, and we are training them on things that include transformative change. And the story I would like to tell you is that recently, this girl organized for us to enlist a clinic in the community that she's working in. And we went in there with our partners, installed a system called Banda Health, which is a software system for making it possible to capture all administration, clinical, and other information about the patients. And that clinic began to operate immediately, just like a Western clinic would operate, where you are keeping very accurate records and all of that. But then other partners got interested in this particular community when they heard that we have a complete mobilization mechanism. They came, Kijaben Medical Center. They have a newborn and mother wellness program. And through them, we began to engage the community in maternal health, and at the same time also in just community-based improvement. I learned something I had not known about women and the problems that really kill them if they don't get addressed early. And the example I would like to give here is that of cervical cancer. I think you have heard, Catherine Kazavuli, everybody knows her. She just died recently of cervical cancer, and her son said, please encourage women to go to get tested early. He was spot on. Wangari Maathai, Kenya's laureate on climate-related work, died of cervical cancer. And the reason is cervical cancer does not become uncomfortable to the patient until it is late, too late. But in terms of detection, it can be detected very early. So in this particular program, for example, we have facilitated a local clinic with the basics of what they need to test. The swabs, the vinegar, it changes color when you put that swab in the vinegar. So it's a very inexpensive sort of test. And if the color changes and shows that there is positivity in terms of the presence of cancer, before stage 1, and you begin treating at that time, that woman has 100% chance of survival. So, but if it's late, stage 4, the chances of survival are nil, and it will have cleaned up the family in terms of treatment. So our mechanism right now is to include that test for cervical cancer as one of the qualifications for you to belonging to the group. You see, you are a member of our group. We want you to live a better life. Go get tested. So Mary will educate them, will train them, will tell them all of that. And then we will keep a register, who has gone and who has not gone, etc., because we engage these people over a long period of time. Somebody asked me, aren't you being dictatorial? The point is, everything that works needs some level of compliance. For you to grow coffee and produce 20 kilos instead of 2, you have to follow a particular protocol, which we require you to do. For you to grow a tree and keep it to the carbon credit value chain, have to be monitored, it has to be measured, things like that, and it has to be protected for 30 years. And that is required. So when it comes to our own personal decisions about our lives also, if we are working together, we hold each other accountable. Let's go get tested. Same thing for men and prostate cancer. Let's go ahead to the next one. Now, so we do have a vision for transformation. It's to empower the person and their group, because they are organized into groups. And with that, empowerment means finances, knowledge, self-improvement. We even have a volunteer trainer from the Netherlands, by the way, who is training our team trainers on it's called a power growth program, which is I found to be very fascinating. How to move from being a nobody to becoming a person of power, and how to pass on that power to other people. So that's the individual, and that empowerment is continuous, it's engaging, it's something that continuously happens. We focus on increasing incomes. As I mentioned, there are protocols for increasing productivity that, for some reason, I don't know, in Africa, we train kids to go to school, but then when we try to, when they leave us, we continue to do the things that we have always done. We found a way of growing a yam that increases the productivity from 5 kilos from a yam plant to 100 kilos. That's a transformational. We've found that by following a protocol in coffee, you can increase the productivity of a coffee plant from 3 to 5 kilos per plant, all the way to 20 and 30 kilos per plant per year. So this training is provided as part of the program. We don't charge for agronomists, so nobody says I don't have money to pay the agronomist, because the agronomist is paid from the income from carbon credit in advance before the money comes, and later on is sustained into the program through that whole issue. We set up demo farms on people's compounds, and the other farmers come over there to see how to keep cows. They come there to see how to grow coffee. So that increases the income. Then the quality of life in terms of what we do, like the way we are supporting clinics and funding infrastructure and healthcare. Then decent jobs. An average ambassador during a project rollout period, like right now, will earn more than 20,000 shillings. He's not even an employee. He's a woman living in her own home, or a man who just attends a meeting of the group, mobilizes other people, and generates a good income from it. And the sustainability of that job is through monitoring. Whenever we have monitoring activities, whenever we have visitors visiting, so those people are there, and they are not part of our direct employment people. They are in the communities, but they are our partners right there. And then we do work together with people to identify the needy in their communities and take them to school. So talking about needy and talent, we had a girl called Diana who showed up in our nursery again, worked as a person to keep soil into the, to put soil into the growing bags, the seedling bags. And it turned out that Diana had actually had finished university, did not get a certificate, and through an application she made to be a data input person, Diana was found to keep such accurate data. Within 1 year, she has grown in our organization from being a person who grows seedlings in the nursery to now she is the head of our biochar production facility in a place called Kagio. She's a manager, full scale. She's gotten 3 pay rises in 1 year. The initial salary, pay rise number 1 when she became a data entry clerk, and the pay rise number 2 after she now got promoted to this level, and she is headed to big places as a result of that self-improvement in this place where you can get many opportunities in a growing value chain. Let's carry on to next slide, please. Thank you. We are very heavily dependent on technology, both on the ground, like GPS coordinates for the homes, the reading of serial numbers during monitoring of the cook stoves using technology, but also in the things that the farmers themselves will use. Like we have recently developed and are rolling out seedling trays that use local fiber to be able to grow seedlings, and these seedling trays are reusable. So both in the way we are working, but all these qualities about agility and the quality assurance and the database reporting is all part of our new reality, which I think should speak to the fact that if you are not anchored onto technology platforms, you cannot run an organization today in the new leadership. Our staff, I think 90% of our staff, I have never seen them, I've never met them, but we meet online, they are all over, and we are connected through technology. Next one is just to mention to all of you that also new leadership involves working with multiple partners. I don't think we have even listed all our partners here, but people like Murang'a University and Corkies, Ashoka themselves, Banda, ECOAT, AH, DGB were one of our financials, climate investment partners. Also, they are our partners in the Maasai project, the CSRT project. Eco Securities are the ones we have on the Kisasa program. So, and Banda Health is the one providing the software that keeps track of information as the system is used in a rural community. So all these people, some of them funding themselves, some us funding them, some funding us. It's a group of partnerships that we are working with. And the last slide is just to say thank you and to show you our contact details. And at this particular moment, I'll let Ruth determine how we proceed from here, whether it's through questions or comments. I'll keep my chat open, so if you write a question, I'll also be able to see it. Thank you very much.